Hey guys, today we are in Revelations chapter 5. Now, I know my background seems a little different. If you haven't heard, I really messed up my back. That's why I'm a couple days late in this video. This week, for the rest of the week, is coming from my bed. But we can still do it, right? So, if you remember chapter 4, it was really the emphasis of the throne room in heaven. And so now we pick up with that idea. It goes from the throne to this scroll. Okay, so we kind of have a little transition. And we see that in the very first verse. Then I saw in the right hand of him who was seated on the throne, of course, that was God, seated on the throne, a scroll written within and on the back, sealed with 7 seals. Now, as you go through Revelation, lots of preachers and pastors kind of talk about maybe what's on the scroll. The reality is we don't know what's on the scroll. If you were to ask me what could probably be on this scroll, I would think just God's will. But a lot of people say a lot of different things. It's the Old Testament. It's the New Testament. It's a list of martyrs. It's lots of different things. But we don't really know because necessarily the point is not the scroll. It is who can open the scroll. That's really the emphasis of this chapter. And so they take the scroll, and notice it says it was written within and on the back. It's written on both sides of the scroll, which is very unusual. Almost that never happened. What that means is there's a lot of information on this scroll. Okay, so it was written within and on the back, and it was sealed with 7 seals. As they would write on a scroll, they wouldn't read it vertically. They would read a scroll horizontally. And when they get to the end, there would be these strings that would go through as they wind it up. And these strings would be sealed with wax over a knot. We kind of understand just one seal. A lot of times we'll get wedding invitations where they'll put a little wax seal. But this is 7 seals. And why that could be interesting is in Roman culture, a will, the last will and testament, would have to have 7 seals on it. And so that's why I think the scroll is kind of is God's will or his final thoughts, what he wants to happen to heaven and to earth, right? And so we really don't know, though, but we can understand that it's sealed with 7 seals. And then he says he saw a mighty angel. We don't know which angel. Once again, it doesn't really matter. Proclaiming with a loud voice, "Who is worthy to open the scroll and break the seals?" And no one in heaven or on earth or under the earth was able to open the scroll or to look into it. And I began to weep loudly. So we see this idea, this angel comes and says, here's the scroll, but who can look into the scroll? Who can open this scroll? And he basically says nobody in heaven, under heaven, around heaven, no living creature, no anything. So it's as if this angel is searching everywhere for someone to open the scroll. And he says no one was able to open the scroll. And then John writes, I began to weep loudly because no one was found worthy to open the scroll. John is probably weeping because he means that he knows the end of the world is going to be postponed, that Jesus isn't coming back at this moment, right, at his time. And so he weeps. Verse 5, and one of the elders, not the angel, but one of the elders, one of the 24 that we saw in the throne room, said to me, weep no more. So try to console John. Weep no more, and behold, just like in just like that, behold, the Lion of the tribe of Judah and the Root of David has conquered so that he can open the scroll and the 7 seals, right? So weep no more. Calm yourself down, John, because there is one person who can open the soul. We see the Lion of the tribe of Judah. That's a nickname of Jesus. We see that in Genesis 49, Isaiah 31, Hosea chapter 11, and the Root of David. We see that in 2 Samuel 7, Isaiah 11, Revelations 21. These are messianic names. This is talking just not about Jesus, but the Messiah King, right? The Messiah King. And that's why it says he has conquered so he can open the scroll and the seven seals. Remember, the angel said, no one created in heaven, under heaven, around heaven. Jesus was not created. He was there from the very beginning. Jesus is God. And between the throne and the four living creatures and among the elders, going back to that throne room that we read about in chapter 4, I saw a lamb standing. He was expecting a lion, right? Because the elder said, the Lion of Judah. So he understands that this is the Messiah. John understands this, but he's expecting this roaring lion to come out. But instead, we get this lamb, notice it's capitalized, lamb, standing as though it has been slain. Notice that. The lamb is standing, so it means that the lamb is alive, but it looks like it has been slain. It looks like it has the marks of sacrifice upon it, right? And so, of course, this is Jesus. Jesus was sacrificed, but he is still alive. But this lamb is different. It's a little unique, right? Because it has 7 horns with 7 eyes, which are the 7 spirits of God sent out into all the earth. Now, this is a weird kind of imagery, but it's weird in that it has meaning behind it. Remember, everything is symbolism going back to the Old Testament. We've seen this before. We've seen descriptions of this in the book of Daniel. We see this out of the prophet Zechariah, chapter 2, chapter 3. And so what does this mean, right? So he has 7 horns. The 7 horns are talking about power, right? It's a lamb. It has the horns of power. This is showing of his omnipotence. And then he has 7 eyes, which is showing his omniscience, his wisdom. So he has full power, he has full wisdom, and he has the full Holy Spirit, right? So this lamb is somebody special. Of course, it's Jesus Christ. And he went and he took the scroll because he was not created, right? So he could take the scroll. He took the scroll from the right hand of him who was seated on the throne. And when he had taken the scroll, the 4 living creatures and the 24 elders fell down before the Lamb. Notice they immediately fell down before Jesus, each holding a harp. And this is where sometimes I think people get the imagery of a harp, of an angel playing a harp. But if you really want to be exact, the harp, this language, this word, is what we would call a zinthon. And basically, it's a little guitar that you would play with your fingers or like a pick on the side, right? So, but it doesn't really matter. They're holding a musical instrument, right? So they're worshiping, they're singing. And golden bowls full of incense, which are the prayers of saints, right? So here, the elders and the angels are presenting to Jesus this bowl of the prayers of the saints. And that should bring you some security because that's how holy and how important our prayers are to God, right? They're storing up and they're going to give it to Jesus. And they sing a new song, saying, "Worthy are you to take the scroll and to open its seals. For you were slain, and by your blood you were ransomed, people for God from every tribe and language and people, nation, and you have made them the kingdom of priests to God, and they shall reign on the earth." So they're singing this song, this worship tune, right? But notice what they're saying here. Now I want to kind of break this down for you. This is their song. It says, "You were slain." That's the price of redemption. Your blood, that was the payment of redemption. You ransomed, that was the work of redemption. For people, the destination of redemption. For God, people for God. Every tribe, tongue, language, people, and nation. This is the scope of redemption. It's for everybody. You have made them a kingdom and priests to our God. This is a length of redemption. He's made us kings, co-heirs with himself, so it is for eternity, and they shall reign on the earth. And so that's talking about the results of redemption. So it's not just a song. This song has a lot of meaning. And then John says, then I looked and I heard around the throne the living creatures and the elders of the voice of many angels, numbers, myriads of myriads and thousands. It means 10,000 times 10,000. It's an uncountable amount of angels. And they are worshiping and they are singing, worthy is the Lamb who is slain to receive power, wealth, wisdom, and might, honor, glory, and blessing, right? So notice that they're singing of the holiness of God. And I heard every creature in heaven and on earth and under the earth and in the sea and all that is in them saying, notice every creature, everything, every person, every animal, everything that's been created, everything, right? So everything is worshiping God. And they're saying to him who sits on the throne, they're worshiping God, and to the Lamb, the Son, the Son, Jesus, be blessing and honor, glory and might forever and ever. So when will the world praise Jesus that he would live forever? As we've seen many times as we read through the New Testament, that every tongue shall confess and every knee will bow that Jesus Christ is Lord. And all the four living creatures said, Amen. And the elders fell down and they worshiped. Now, if you notice, you remember the beginning of chapter, they were already down, right? They were worshiping God. But when it says they worship, that word means to prostrate yourself, and that means to lay down. So it's kind of the idea that they were down on their knees and then they go to prostrate themselves. So they're laying down completely, head down on the floor, just once again showing submission to God. And so I hope that makes sense in chapter 5, and we will see you in chapter 6. God bless.